Off the Bench with Jacob Hester and Matt Flynn.
Okay, here we go.
Where the plays get broken down and science gets denied.
Hey, they said I got to come off the bench.
Hour 2 of Off the Bench, live from the Raising Cane's studio.
All right, welcome back here. Off the Bench, Monday morning, live from the Raising Cane's studio. Hope you're having a great start to the week, whether you're watching in the office, maybe you're driving around, maybe you just dropped off the kids. I know carpool is over. So I know Taylor's excited, so you can now say some curse words because all the kids are dropped off. Don't shake your head at me. You know it's true. All right. Let's talk a little Saints with the man from Locked On Saints podcast. Writes for the Saints here on LouisianaSports.net. We got the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Ross Jackson. Ross, what's up, man?
Hey, man, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me this morning.
Absolutely. Thanks for jumping on. We appreciate it. I know it's everyone's buzzing right now. We finally get to see the Saints take the field, put on their real jerseys, their real helmets, and play a little football. And well, the Saints didn't get the win, but I don't know if that really matters right now because there's a lot to take away from the game. Let's just start kind of from like a broad perspective. Like, how do you think a couple of practices against the Jaguars, and then of course you go against then you play the game. Did the game kind of match up from a competitiveness that it did in practice, or did the practice go a little different than the game?
Yeah, I'd probably say that the practice went a little bit different than the game just because we saw more of sort of that first-team offense, first-team defense on both sides. And so the competition kind of felt a little bit more charged between those guys getting their first opportunities. But, these guys that got their opportunity to compete during the preseason game didn't lack for competitive value at all, obviously. I mean, these are guys that have an opportunity to either, grab a roster spot or a role here in New Orleans or put up good tape for 31 other teams to get a look at. And I think that becomes, a big charge for a lot of these guys as well. You could feel a little bit of the kind of nerves settled after the game, talking to people and everything about how I was really amped up going out there for the first time and all that. And so you could definitely feel all of that there. But I will say, I think that the joint practice obviously put together, something really fun to watch.
Yeah, let's start on the defensive side of the ball because, here on the show, we talk a lot of offense. We kind of skip around the defense a little bit, rightfully so. Defense is a bunch of dummies. But look, there's a lot of question marks on the defense. We'd think that the offense, if healthy, can be explosive. But on the defense, there's some question marks. Let's start with the defensive line and stopping the run. They did a really nice job during the game stopping the run, but there's still a lot of question marks. There are some injuries they're working through. How did you feel coming after the game on just kind of the run defense?
Yeah, I think the most impressive player to watch in that area in the limited snaps that he got was Kristen Miller. And that's exactly what I'm sure the Saints are hoping to have said after the preseason game. It's a rookie they drafted out of Georgia in the second round at defensive tackle. He just looked so tough to move, really, really athletic, especially for his size and the way that he was able to break through. Got a pressure at one point with a bull rush right up the middle. Ended up being able to peel off of blocks to make stops. Average depth of tackle looked really good, all those areas and all the analytics that were there too. I think he was one of the highest rated players coming out of this matchup as well. Just really, really excellent stuff. Now he's dealing with a shoulder injury. He had to leave just before halftime. And then, he kind of left the injury tent. He was still in the injury tent as everybody went into the locker room. And then so when he left the injury tent, he went back to the locker room, which usually is an indication that he wouldn't finish the game. But it's not like he had anywhere else to go. He had to go to the locker room where everybody else was for halftime. And then so we had to wait until the top of the second half to see if he came back out, which he did not. But as long as, he ends up checking out okay and being healthy moving forward, or the Saints are able to keep him on the field during the regular season, as he's dealt with a couple of injuries now over the course of training camp, I think he's going to be a big asset for them in that area.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things when you watch practice, you really don't know how the defensive line is doing.
Right.
So the game is kind of like your litmus test. That's the only thing you really have to grade on. But like another unit that you can get a lot from, like the secondary, you can get a lot from practice as well. How do you think they did in the game? And also, how do you, in the practices leading up to, there's some question marks from the depth at corner, the depth in the secondary. Like, have they answered some of those backups, some of those young guys, have they answered that question?
Yeah, I think that they're in the process of doing so. Look, I've always been a little bit higher on the Saints' depth than other people. I just think that it's constructed in a way that we're not accustomed to seeing. In that the starters are the young guys. It's Kool-Aid McKinstry going into his third season. It's Quincy Riley going into his second. It's Jonas Sanker going into his second. And those are your top three corners or cornerback-like positions in Sanker's perspective. But then the depth includes guys like Isaac Yiadom and Martin Emerson Jr., who have been in the NFL for a little while and are kind of the more veteran players, Rajon Wright as well. And so I always look at positions where you have young starters and veteran depth. I always look at that as a positive. I think it's not often looked at that way. And I think that a guy that really proved himself in that conversation in the preseason game, as well as the week leading up to the preseason game, is Martin Emerson Jr. This guy was a really excellent corner coming out of Mississippi State when he was over with the Cleveland Browns before he got injured, and looks to be returning to some level of that form here over the course of the past week, whether he's taken snaps in the practice or in the preseason. And regardless of who he's been going up against, he's been able to kind of, make better plays on the ball, close on the ball a little bit more quickly. He's been snagging interceptions, things like that. I thought that he was really impressive. And then I thought that cornerback Jaden Price was really impressive too. He was the highest rated player coming out of this game. Had 2 passes defended, including a pass breakup and an interception. He had a pressure on the one pass rush opportunity that he got. And didn't allow a single catch on the 3 times that he was targeted, him playing in that star position. I think that he's the guy that's ready to go from practice squad to 53.
Ooh, I like that. So, yeah, I was going to ask you to give me somebody on defense that probably wasn't projected to make the 53, but that might after their first couple of weeks in the first game, but I think he kind of just did.
Yeah, I think that he's kind of the guy. There are a couple of other guys on that defensive line that might be fighting there, look, depending on how long the hamstring injury goes for Cam Jordan, if the Saints end up needing an extra player on the rotation of the edge. I mean, Central Michigan pass rusher and the undrafted free agent, Mike Heldman, obviously, he made a case for himself too, right? And so he would probably be the other guy, but that one would be a little bit more contingent upon the situation at edge rusher and how the numbers game pans out. Jaden Price, I think, has just left no question between his ability to back up that star role, which he's been doing since really in season last year. And then also you add on his ability as a returner, and then you add the special teams value that he brings while he is sitting back there waiting for an opportunity on the 53-man roster. He's a guy that could easily jump into that role.
Yeah. All right, let's go to the offensive side of the ball. And look, I hate to ask you about somebody that didn't play, but is Kendre Miller going to make this team?
I don't know, man. What's the phrase? Can't make the club from the tub or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of what it feels like with Kendre right now. And look, I say that, and it sounds so disparaging about Kendre. There's no question about the talent when it comes to this guy. The question is, when do you get to see it? And it seems, each of these training camps, he's had an issue or some issue during the season. They started him off with a clean slate last year, but it's tough to go from a clean slate to then you add the ACL injury on top of it. Now this back injury that's kept him out for the majority of training camp. If he wants to make the roster, he's going to have to get back out on the football field soon, and he's going to have to stay on the football field. And at this point, the performance is going to have to be really convincing, because I think guys like, Audric Estime have really made their kind of claim for that role behind Travis Etienne Jr. and Alvin Kamara.
Yeah, is it like, even if he comes back for a game and looks healthy for a week or two, is it still, is the talent enough, or is there too much of a history now to not be trustworthy?
Yeah, that's the thing that's so tricky about it. Like, the performance would have to be considerable, right? Like, you'd have to really, really make a statement in your return. And obviously that's what he would be charged to do from a motivation standpoint and everything like that. But it feels like you'd really have to put up a strong performance here in any return and in any opportunity that you get in order to really convince this coaching staff to see beyond the availability concerns and everything. If not, I think maybe if he's healthy, a practice squad spot could be in order, but it's becoming a little bit tough to project him on the 53-man roster, even as somebody that knows that the talent is absolutely there. It's just hard to put somebody on a roster that's not available.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to somebody else who has 100% in a very short amount of time completely justified why he was a top 10 pick, but also completely justified why people had concerns. Jordan Tyson has been absolutely electric in his route running abilities in practice, but also has a new soft tissue injury. So what have you heard coming out of camp about Jordan Tyson, his availability? How long do we think he's going to be out? And just kind of like his camp as a whole leading up to this date, it's just been kind of course, like I said, the soft tissue injury. But man, he is watching him run routes has been absolutely electric. But how many games are we going to be able to see him actually play this year?
Yeah, look, I get the question. It's a challenging thing to look at, and right now, I think the thing that's most concerning is the lack of clarity about his injury. His injury went from being one to where saw him jog off the field and kind of sounded like maybe it wasn't super much of a big deal. Sounded like it was a little bit more minor, and then it went from that to days after the injury, they're still in the information gathering process. Like that's typically not a great sign. And look, with hamstring injuries in particular, it's always a matter of a matter of when, not if. And so, the overall expectation was that eventually there was going to be some revisiting of the hamstring injury at some point during his career. It stinks that it happened this early for him because now that creates sort of this long path to re-injury or long ramp of re-injury potentially. And so you got to be very careful with that. As for a timeline, I mean, look, Kellen Moore acknowledged that it could go into week one. I wouldn't be surprised if it did, just from what we've seen from the Saints. They've been very, very cautious, and they have a passing game that they know works with Tyler Shuck, Chris Olave, Juwan Johnson, Devon Bailey, and then now you've added in a run game with Travis Etienne Jr. You bring in guys like Noah Fant, Oscar Delp, Bryce Lance, Barryon Brown, all these players that they've added this offseason. It kind of leaves you the question of, can you actually go into the season without rushing Jordan Tyson back because of all of those weapons that you have, and how does that work in their favor? And so I wouldn't be surprised to see this thing lingering to the regular season, just because at this point that's kind of the expectation. That seems like they're kind of soft launching in a way. And after that, though, I think the biggest thing is going to be kind of similar to what we talked about with Kendre. That the talent's there, the performance is going to be incredible once he gets there. It reminds me of it was Odell Beckham Jr. He had a hamstring injury during his rookie season, played 11 games, but missed some time due to his due to his hamstring. But he averaged like 108.8 yards per game when he played. Jordan Tyson is that level of a performer, that level of athlete, to where when you can finally get him out on the field, the talent's going to be there. But the big thing is going to be maximizing the length of time or the long play to make sure that he's available for you for a longer amount of time, even if that means sacrificing some of the short term here right now.
Yeah, and I think, Ross, it's unrealistic for anybody to have the expectation that he's going to play 17 games. So it's all about managing, and it's the job of Kellen Moore and his staff and the training staff and the doctors there to manage this the right way. And, good thing for the Saints this year as opposed to past years is there is depth at that position.
Right.
And he had some really good performances on Sunday or Saturday.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's some guys to be excited about, and there's guys, and that's one of the reasons why you go and you load up at the position, right? They drafted 3 wide receivers for the first time since 1989, and there were 12 rounds in the draft back in '89. And so, this shows you that this team was willing to load up at the position, and now you can kind of see why that would turn out to be a little bit more fortuitous, probably sooner than expected.
All right, let's talk the important stuff, the good stuff. Finally, let's talk quarterbacks. All right, so we go into the game. Spencer Rattler, 8 of 11, but of course there wasn't really anything exciting. Zach Wilson, 11 of 16, and that was exciting. There was some exciting plays, but that's kind of how second halves of preseason games go. Starts out a little boring, gets exciting towards the end with all these guys trying to scrap and fight and claw and make a team. Mm-hmm. What'd you see out of the two quarterbacks, and are the Saints in a pretty good spot in their quarterback room right now? Yeah,
I think that they are. Spencer Rattler's performance in the preseason didn't look like what it looked like throughout training camp. I mean, he was downfield, pushing the ball downfield, all those things. So I think from that perspective, a lot of people are going to be overwhelmed by his performance. But I think a lot of people were also excited about Zach Wilson's performance, and I think rightfully so. Zach got out there and, 11 of 16, like you mentioned, 145 yards, passing touchdown, where he connected with rookie tight end Oscar Delp at the front pylon. A couple of plays after connecting with Bub Means at the right pylon that also looked like that could have been a touchdown, was initially ruled a touchdown at least. But I think that the thing that was exciting about Zach Wilson's performance for a lot of folks was the attacking downfield. It was the sluggo down the right sideline on the fade to the right. It was the cover 2 hole shot to Barryon Brown that came, swiftly after that. It was the play action rollout completion to Bub Means and all the play action things. There were a lot of things that just kind of worked with Zach Wilson. And I think that the thing that's intriguing about that is that that's the guy that spent the least amount of time in that quarterback room in Kellen Moore's system. And you could see the way that Kellen Moore's system still supported that quarterback. You can see it with Hunter Deckers at the end of the game as well. And so I think it's a proof positive of what it is that Kellen Moore's system does. And Zach Wilson talked about it after the game of having sort of these all coverage beaters to where there's no such thing as the perfect coverage to take away the play. Now, it might take away one of the routes. It might be the big play, it might be all that, but there's always somewhere to go with the football, and that is quarterback friendly, which I'm sure you can attest to as well, in terms of creating those pure progressions and giving you all those opportunities to be able to beat whatever coverage and always find an answer. I thought that what was really like the big takeaway from Zach Wilson's performance was about the proof positive nature that it created for Kellen Moore's offense and what it can look like going into 2026.
What do you think Mickey and his staff what's their play in the quarterback room right now? Is it just trying to make the quarterback room as best they can for depth in that room, or are they trying to potentially get something out of one of these quarterbacks as far as a trade or get some sort of asset back for them?
I think, I don't know if they're trying to. I don't think that they would turn their nose up at the idea, though. If, let's say, some team called about either Spencer Rattler or Zach Wilson and the deal made sense, you'd be able to move one of those guys and feel really good about giving them an opportunity somewhere else, while also gaining an asset and giving yourself still the backup that can be really good for your starting quarterback. I think a lot of times when we talk about backup quarterback, the perception is the guy that goes in if the starter goes down, but there's a whole list of additional responsibilities, of course, that I'm sure you've seen that are, really important, right? The guy on the sideline that's able to say, here's what I saw, and have those types of conversations, all that. The guys in the film room, all of that. Like there's so much value to that player that when you have two really good options, and they're good options from different perspectives, right? Spencer Rattler has the institutional knowledge, was a starter in the system. There's value in that. Zach Wilson has a lot of veteran experience and has been around other really good play callers like Sean Payton and Mike McDaniel. There's a lot of experience in that, a lot of value in that. And so figuring out which of those makes sense for you, or if a team figures it out for you by giving you the right phone call, I think you're in a really good place either way if you're the Saints.
Yeah, Ross, we appreciate your time today. I know we've gone a little long, but last question for you, I promise. Tell us what your thoughts are on the current state of the kicking battle.
Yes, absolutely. And don't apologize. We're long because my answers have been long. It's my fault. It's not you.
Talk a little
but when it comes to the kicker position, I think this one's a really intriguing one. I think at this point you're starting to see Tanner Brown create some separation. And this is the first time we've really seen separation. We're talking about 2 field goal percentages right now that are hovering around like 79.5% for Charlie Smith, around 87-point-something% for Tanner Brown. And so this is really the first time that we've seen a little bit of separation. And so now this is the opportunity for either Charlie Smith to do what he did last year, which was he kind of flipped the switch when we went out to the West Coast, and all of a sudden he went perfect on like double-digit kicks down the stretch. Or it's an opportunity for Tanner Brown to create some cushion in that distance and maybe pull away a bit. And so I think this is the time where we're going to see this kicker battle really unfold. But I'd say right now, Tanner Brown now, just by the numbers, has a slight edge.
All right, there he is, Mr. Ross Jackson, Locked On Saints podcast, LouisianaSports.net. Check out all those awesome articles. Stay up to date on everything Saints training camp. Ross, we appreciate your time.
Thank you, buddy. Thanks for having me. Y'all take care, stay safe, and I'll talk to you soon.
All right, man. You too. All right, there he is, Ross Jackson. That was great stuff. We appreciate his time. So thoughtful. Good insight always on everything Saints and everything coming out. And a lot to come out of that preseason game. A lot of speculation as well. I think the biggest story that I have from the Saints right now is Jordan Tyson. I think if he is healthy and available, he brings your offense into a very threatening position and a defensive nightmare if him and Olave are both on the field. So that's the story for me to watch. I know there's a lot of other storylines there and people making the roster and depth chart and defense line and secondary, but that offense can be very dangerous with those 2 wide receivers out there. So we'll continue to watch that. And we'll come back. We'll talk a little LSU on the other side right here and Off the Bench.
Off the bench.
All right, go to Central Plumbing, centralplumbing.org. Your plumbing experts in the game. Been doing it a long time. This is a third-generation company. The Payne family has been the experts in the Baton Rouge area for a long, long time in the plumbing world. Now, in the Baton Rouge area, in the Lafayette area as well, as they have that new office over there. So if you have a plumbing need, maybe it's a plumbing emergency, and something happens, middle of the night, you sprung a leak, middle of the night, something happens with the gas line, whatever it is, well, they get 24/7 emergency service. So have that peace of mind that whenever something happens, if something bad does happen, you can call them, and they'll come out in the middle of the night. They'll come out on a holiday. They'll come out during a Saints or an LSU game if they have to, because it's 24/7. They got your back when it comes to anything plumbing with water lines, gas lines, you name it. Hey, and look, if you need a tankless water heater, if you check, like if you didn't know that existed, like you can turn it on, and you got hot water forever. It can run for a day if you need it to. Never run out of hot water again. Call the experts, Central Plumbing, centralplumbing.org.
Let's take some calls from the request line. Caller number 1.
Hey, man, what's up? This is Dominique from Shady Nose Trailer Park.
What's up, Dominic?
Off the bench with Hester and Flynn. Presented by Bayou Automotive.
Now, shout out the radio station that gave you what you wanted.
W boom boom B, baby.
What you doing from the front? What you doing from the back? Better break it down like that.
All right, welcome back here Off the Bench. Monday morning. We hope you're having a great start to the week. Hope your energy levels are high. Well, because they're high around here. They're high in the foxhole. And the only reason is because you picked this theme of music today, because I knew you saw my energy.
Bro.
You saw my face.
That's why when you just said the energy's high in the foxhole, I'm like,
Well, it wasn't. And I know that's why you picked this genre of music.
True.
To get the vibes high.
Yeah.
I mean, took me a second to wake up. It was.
Yeah.
It wasn't a restful weekend. Not from like a
I get
partying
it.
standpoint, but I did a lot of working.
Yeah.
Gotta stop partying hard on Sundays,
I
Matt.
know,
We've
my
talked
bad.
about this.
That's on me. I called a laundry dude this morning.
Yeah.
It's really not as big of a deal as you're making it. I literally didn't think twice about it until you said something.
It wasn't a big deal.
You saw me again?
It was just weird.
Yeah. You saw me again. You're like, let me address this.
It was one of those
called
situations
you,
where
dude.
you say something.
You
and
thought
it just
about
pops
it
out.
after?
Yeah. It's kind of like when
You're like,
When,
why
like-
did I?
when the flight attendant says, "Have a great flight," and you're like, "You too." You're
You're
like,
like,
"Oh,
Well,
that
they're
was-"
flying too.
Yeah. Well, the person at the airport taking the
Oh,
ticket. They're like, "Have a
yeah.
great flight." You too. And then you're like, "Oh,
Nah,
my
The
So-
son."
movie theater, getting the popcorn, enjoy your movie.
Oh, the
You
movie
too.
theater is where it happens to me every single time.
Right. Like, I feel like that's the one. Like, why do I always say you too to the people handing me my popcorn? Why?
It doesn't make any sense. And then afterwards, you think about it 30 seconds later, and you're like, "Oh man, I sound like a real idiot."
I didn't even think about it.
I called you dude, and then like you walked off, and I was like, "Oh, that was weird."
After you brought it up
Let
again,
me get
I was
ahead of
like,
this.
oh, you were thinking about that.
I was like, "Let me get ahead of this one." After the whole not noticing your hair situation the other day, I wanted to get ahead of the dude thing.
You were like, what a way to start the morning. I mean, come on.
God,
Well, didn't even say anything about it today.
don't start. Don't try me. Anyway, guess what?
Didn't even notice that I painted my nails. Just kidding. What?
Damn it. Guess what?
What?
18 sleeps until Clemson comes to Death Valley.
Look at that. That's right.
18 sleeps,
Yep.
people. 19 days until LSU takes on Clemson, baby. We excited or what? Like,
I'm very excited.
I know it seems so far away still because we're still training camp. There's like we're getting very limited information coming out of training camp because media doesn't have much accessibility. There was a scrimmage on Saturday, but no one got to see it. How did they do? So much like it seems so far away, but it's only 18 sleeps away. You're going to put your head on your pillow 18 more times. Close those eyes. Wake up to an alarm all angry for 18 more days.
Yeah.
But on that 19th day,
It's going to be sweet.
you're going to wake up.
Sweet.
You're going to smell the air. It's still going to be about 115 wet bulb out there. It's okay. It's going to feel like fall. It's LSU playing football that day. And it's close.
Yeah.
It is very close. And guess where they're playing?
Who?
The real Death Valley. And Mr. Dabo Sweeney recently was asked about playing in Baton Rouge, and he had this to say.
But man, I got so much respect for that place, first of all. I mean, it's one of the great places in college football. I mean, to play a football game, they're on you from the time you land at the airport. I mean, it is, and then a night game on top of it. There's a little juice in that lemonade. They're waiting on you. So it's awesome. It's one of the great places to play a game. Lane's done an unbelievable job. I mean, they got dudes for dudes. They're all over the place. So be a fun way to kick it off.
Well, the ultimate respect coming from Mr. Dabo Swinney. Kind of said it smugly a little bit, but basically told me in that interview that we are the real Death Valley. And he said we got dudes for dudes for dudes. I think he meant we got a lot of talent. And
dudes and dudes.
Dudes and dudes and dudes right there. And, well, what we think we have a little bit of talent, which we didn't last year, was on the defensive line. Taylor, Blake Baker had some really nice things to say. I believe this was after Friday's practice.
Yeah,
talking about his defensive line, which is a question. We know we got Prince, and we got some talent coming in at the edge because we did not have I'm not even going to say a dominant edge rusher last year. We didn't really have much of an individual edge rushing component to our team last year, which has to change, and we think it will. But from a run stopping, from a pass rushing standpoint, we think it's going to be much improved.
Yeah, it should be. And Blake said as much on Friday. He was saying we have a lot more explosiveness at this point during camp than we had last year, and depth as well. And he's right. I mean, look at the guys you brought in a year ago. Remember, we were high on this group because you brought in Jack Pyburn, Patrick Payton, Jamari Butler. All of those guys were proven talents at the Power 4 level. Those three guys combined for 5 sacks a year ago. All three of them. Your leading sack getter a year ago was Harold Perkins at Matt's favorite position, the star, with 3.5 sacks. That was your leading sack getter for a year ago. That can't happen. Like you got to have more production on your defensive line. Prince Willoughby, double-digit sack guy a year ago. Jordan Ross has battled through some injuries at Tennessee, but he's a highly recruited guy. And then there's depth behind him. Lamar Brown's going to play a lot. Jaden Breaker moved from linebacker to edge rusher. They like him. Dylan Carpenter, Trenton Henderson. I mean, the talent's there. And then, Matt, you look inside, it's a lot of the same. I mean, yeah, we talk about Deuce Geralds and Richard Anderson as the two freshmen. Like, I get it. Everyone's excited about them. But Malik Blockton coming over from Auburn, that's a guy that's played a lot of Power 4 football. Stephylon Green from Clemson, who we just heard from Dabo, a lot of Power 4 football. And then Dominic McKinley in year 3 in this program. So whether it's on the inside or the outside, there is a lot more talent there a year ago. And what makes me most excited is that I thought the defensive staff did a good job last year with not a lot to work with. I think they have a lot more to work with this year. Yeah,
they really did. And like Kyle Williams, former teammate of ours, I think he did a great job last year. He's a very good coach. But with not a ton of talent to work with. So definitely improved on that. And look, we talk about Prince Emmanuel, and like if he can he didn't even have to like duplicate from a stat perspective what he did last year. If he can just replicate it, if he can have a high number of sacks, but create havoc, make offensive coordinators, make head coaches, make them think about the pass rush enough to where they have to chip with a running back. They have to thump with a tight end. They have to plan around a pass rusher. That's what offenses didn't have to do last year. We had to create pressure with 5-man rush, 6-man rush. That's how we were able to create sacks and create pressure because you did not get it from the 4 defensive linemen. If you can get consistent enough pressure with your front 4, it creates problems for the offensive coordinator. And then you have to, like I said, you gotta keep guys in. You have to protect with more people, or at least give a presence for at least a half a second or a full second with an extra, with a tight end or running back, or sometimes even a receiver. So it creates a lot of issues, and that is something that Blake Baker had to work around last year, and he's awesome at it. He is awesome at creating different looks and creating confusion to the quarterback. We saw he's one of the best at like disguising and bringing weak side corner blitzes, which is in college football is one of the harder blitzes to pick up. Hell, it's hard for professionals to pick it up. They miss it all the time. It's just because you can disguise it so well, and that corner gets there so quickly. So Blake is an expert at that, and we are. And we've talked about Blake Baker so many times on this show. In a world where the portal king Lane Kiffin comes in and does an awesome job in the portal, but one of his best moves in the portal was maintaining Blake Baker. Obviously had a chance to, or so we've heard, had a chance to be the head coach at his alma mater. We don't know how long Blake Baker is going to be here as our defensive coordinator because he is a coach on the rise. He will be a head coach probably next year. I don't know. But we have him for this year. And we got Weeks, and we have a lot of talent. And what Blake Baker can do with that defense, a lot more talented than last year as a whole. And when obviously there was a lot of talented guys in the secondary last year. They have more talented guys in the secondary this year. I don't know if they got a top 10 pick. We'll see. But from top to bottom, defensive line, the second level, the linebackers, the back end with the secondary, I think it's going to be a really good defense. And hopefully, like last year, the defense was really good. The defense was respected. I don't think they were feared. Can LSU get back to having a defense that is feared? So that will be the question that Blake Baker and his team and his side of the ball will be able to answer. And guess what? Only 18 more sleeps till we get to see it, till we get those answers this year for the LSU Tigers, baby. So I'm fired up. I'm excited. Blake Baker, one last ride. Let's get her done.
You calling it now? You're saying one last ride. You calling it? Blake a head coach next year? I think he is.
Probably. I mean, unless there's some
I feel like we were lucky to get him back this season.
That was like the best recruiting job ever by Lane, right? And Lane's not going to get a lot of credit for that because it doesn't go on as a stats as like the number one portal class,
right?
Number one recruiting class.
But you got the number one coach. That's
what I'm saying. Like, we said it when Lane got hired here. Everyone's like, "What do you think of Lane? What, like, how's he doing?" I'm like, I don't know. We got nothing to grade until the portal window opens. Well, he knocked it out. That like the first gradable thing that we had on Lane Kiffin was awesome job in the portal.
Yeah,
and he kept Blake Baker.
Right.
Those are the two things. Now, it's how long do you keep Blake for? That remains to be seen. If LSU's defense and LSU team as a whole is really good this year, and how the only reason I think that he wouldn't be, I guess, is if the defense isn't good, right?
Which there's no evidence to the point that it's not going to be.
Right.
Like, Blake has improved every year he's been here.
Right.
And like I've been critical against the whole running quarterback situation, but also if the defensive line can get pressure, Matt, you don't have to blitz those linebackers. They can sit back and wait. That'll help with a running quarterback. So that changes everything. But also look what the defense was 2 years ago and look where it is now.
Right.
Like nobody's going to hate those results.
And he's so good at creating pressure. But people knew last year that it was going to have to be Blake Baker in his disguises and his creativity that worried offenses. Think of how good it's going to be if you can get an edge rush. Like if you can create pressure with your front four, think of how good his play calling, his game planning can be. So I'm excited to see it. Prince Emmanuel, and like I said, he doesn't have to duplicate the stats, but if he can replicate the disruption that he was able to have, he was, what was he, third in the SEC in sacks last year? Like if he can just be in that world around that 8, 9, 10 sack, like it's gonna do a lot for Blake Baker and his staff and the rest of that defense. So excited to see it play out. And again, 18 more sleeps until we get to watch it take on Clemson, baby.
Can I say the 18 more sleeps thing more sleeps thing? It gives.
I know.
It gives like millennial white woman just telling her kids like 18 more sleeps till Christmas.
I know. It's a total Christmas thing. Look, I got kids.
It's giving live, laugh, love.
Absolutely. And that's kind of what I meant to do.
Yeah.
So you're welcome for that.
Hashtag blessed.
Hashtag blessed. Live, laugh, love in Death Valley. I love you. All right. Stick with us right here and Off the Bench.
Off the Bench.
Every time I said it, both of y'all shook your heads. It was great. Go to RussellPools.com. Russell Pool Company. The name you think of when you think of the highest quality custom pools in all of Louisiana. They've been doing it a long time. Chris Sanderson and his team over there. They're easy to work with. And they're like if you take a project to them, you're like, hey man, I've been thinking about doing this pool for years. I got kids. They are growing up. I want to have this pool before they get too old. Like we want our backyard to be a backyard oasis. We want to be the entertaining house. We want to be like where everybody comes and congregates and hangs out at. Well, give them a call. Even if you don't know exactly what you want, they can walk you through the entire step. They have 2 landscape architects on staff over there. So you get with them, you talk about your product, you tell them your likes, your dislikes, and they'll draw you up. They will dream you up something that'll fit with your budget and fit with your desires right over there at Russell Pools. And also renovations as well. If you bought a house that has an old pool on it, they can renovate it, turn it just like new. Go check them out over there at russellpools.com.
We're not against rappers.
Off the Bench with Hester and Flynn, presented by Bayou Automotive.
It's the Thuggish Ruggers Ball. It's the Thuggish Ruggers Ball. It's the Thuggish Ruggers Ball. It's the Thuggish Ruggers Ball.
You're feeling the strip for the rump, step bump, hit a funk, get a jump, get the dust, just feel just.
All right, welcome back. All right. I'm fired up right now. I'm not familiar with this one I've heard it.
I've heard it.
I'm not as familiar with it though.
I just like the beginning where like it's the thing.
Yeah. Okay.
Goes hard though.
Matt's over there like, this is pretty catchy.
I like this. This is one catchy tune. Welcome back here off the bench. Monday morning. Live from the Raising Cane studio. Monday show brought to you each and every week by Bayou Automotive. Best darn car dealership in all of Louisiana. Go check them out if you want an easy process for buying a new car, used car, whatever it is. You'll buy it right online there. You don't even have to show up. They'll drive it to you. They'll drive you that new car, drop it off, take your old car back. It's incredible. All right. There is a quarterback out there that's starting to lose that new quarterback smell. That was a play on new car smell, Alondra. I saw your eyes. Jaxson Dart. I think the number one goal for the New York Jets going into this year that we all heard, all saw, all suspected, let's keep Jaxson Dart healthy. Okay? What do we see the first drive of the game, the first highlight? They just completely whiff on a block, and he gets absolutely crushed and sitting there and laying on the field, and we're like, oh, here we go again. He goes to the sideline. What do? They take him to the medical tent to be evaluated for concussion.
Tale as old as time.
Tale as old as time. If I had a nickel every time he got evaluated for a concussion.
Bruh.
My boy wasn't real excited about that. He makes some comments. He wasn't real thrilled about the protocol. He said he was, quote, puzzled that he had to go into the injury tent and be, evaluated for a concussion.
Well, yeah, you had a concussion.
Yeah. And then John Harbaugh, after the game, kind of makes some comments, not like directed towards it, but kind of like getting his quarterbacks back a little bit about, the whole protocol situation, the person. We know that, made the stock comments of like, we know they're there for the player's safety and they should be blah, blah, blah. But didn't necessarily come out defending the NFL or defending Jaxson. Just kind of played middle road there a little bit. Just kind of got me thinking about his history, right? And like he was upset that he got evaluated, but I'm also watched it and I was like, you got crushed and you laid there for like 10 seconds and didn't move.
Yeah.
Of course they're going to be on heightened, and your history also determines what these guys are doing. It plays a factor in their decision. Like if you have a history of concussion, it's going to play a factor in that evaluation. My question, when I started thinking about this and seeing like his reaction to it and kind of his history and his play style, I don't know if he's too young for his play style to really change. I don't think he's going to mature to the fact where he's going to play any differently.
That was
especially
pretty brutal.
Like it was a good hit,
Yeah.
right?
Also, shout out former Tiger Jay Ward, the one laying the wood right there.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Well, not shout out to Tyrone Tracy, who just missed the block. Like the one thing you do
Just
is let's protect your
whiffed.
quarterback in preseason game number 1.
He actually fell down untouched.
If Jaxson gets a concussion this year or gets injured, is he in threat early in his career to kind of like, we say his name, we think of like Tua? Like is he in the
before you
Tua
asked
category?
it, I was thinking he's gonna end up being like Tua, where we debate. He's very young, but is it time for him to just hang it up because you've taken so many hits to the head? Like for Tua, let him have one more bad hit.
Yeah, and I'm not saying like that. Not going like the hanging up situation.
No.
But
that's like way.
But like it's like when you think of Tua, you think of injury.
Yeah.
You think of concussion. You think of there is a proclivity towards that. You think of he is, for whatever reason, he gets them more than other people for whatever reason. Maybe that's his play style. Maybe that's his genetics, whatever it is. But there's a stigma that comes when you hear the name Tua.
Yeah.
How far are we away? How much do things have to change for Jaxson Dart not to get that same stigma? And I hope he doesn't. Like, I hope he stays healthy. He's fun to watch. He's a good player. So I hope he stays healthy. Tyrone Tracy, block the edge rusher. It's your job. You're a professional. You can't give a guy if that's not a veteran right there, I'm cutting him on the spot because that's my starting quarterback.
Yeah.
Like that's you can't let that happen. Yeah, accidents, mistakes happen, missed assignments happen. They do happen, and they can also get you cut if your dumb mistake threatens the starting quarterback that has a proclivity for injuries.
So I guess my thing is, like, I heard it this morning driving in, everybody was criticizing Jaxson Dart and his style of play and all this. I'm like, style of play didn't really cause this injury.
No.
Like,
Yeah.
that's a missed block. And, like, yes, he was sent off the field. He came back in on that same drive and threw a touchdown pass. So he was obviously fine. I pulled up his rookie year. He was evaluated 5 times for concussions, including preseason last year. He was only diagnosed with 1 concussion last year. So the protocol, a lot of times the refs will send you off the field. It's not even, most of the time, actually.
Yeah.
It's not even a team decision. The refs will send you off. So, I mean, he was diagnosed with 1 concussion, missed 2 weeks. It was week 11 and week 12. You go back to college, no concussions. He tore his right meniscus, missed 4 games his freshman year at USC, then an ankle sprain in 2024 at Ole Miss. So, like, he's actually been relatively healthy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I get it. He's been evaluated a lot of times, but there were a lot of people like, oh, if he keeps this up, I'm like, he's had 1 concussion so far in the NFL. I get the evaluation and all that, but, I mean, I think we're a little off from that right now.
Yeah.
Like, his style of play's not helping things, but he's
Yeah,
young.
and it's not, and a stigma always isn't necessarily true.
Right.
It comes from true. It's
'Cause
like where there's smoke, there's fire, and being evaluated makes you worry. For the style of play comes into factor. Now things like this hit was not his style of play. That was that was a running back making a stupid mistake that almost cost your starting quarterback. Like, if I'm that coaching staff, he's getting lit up after that game. That running back. It's not style of play, but there is a stigma that comes with it. 5 evaluations is an indictment on your style of play, and he's going to have to grow up and he's going to have to learn. And there's a fine line because you don't want to take away his playmaking ability. You don't want to take away the thing that makes him a good quarterback. But he does have to learn to play smarter. And this is a thing that a lot of quarterbacks have to learn when they're young and they come out of college. It's a different game. You have to protect yourselves, and not a lot of young quarterbacks get to learn that from the sideline. He's having to learn that with live bullets thrown at him. So we hope he stays healthy. He's fun to watch. It's fun to watch that team. It's fun to watch someone play with that different play style. But if he wants a long career, he's going to have to change his play style a little bit. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But anyway, here's to his brain. Scadaboo's brain.
Here's to his brain.
Here's to his brain. Stay
Cheers.
healthy. Yeah, cheers. Stay healthy out there. Y'all like that one? All right, let's go to break. When we come back, we're going to close out the show, close out hour 2 here on Off the Bench.
Off the bench.
Not me trying to close out the show here.
Again?
Wasn't trying to do that, I promise. Go to First American Bank and Trust. First American Bank and Trust. Your website for the local bank that has been doing business here in Louisiana for a long time. Over a century, they've been doing business with Louisiana families, Louisiana businesses. So if you are in need, maybe you're just starting a new checking account. Maybe you need a second checking account. Maybe you need a loan because your family's growing and you need a bigger house. You need to buy a new house. You need a mortgage. Well, go with First American Bank and Trust. Start talking to them about your family, about your needs and what they can do. Maybe it's a HELOC loan. Maybe it's a business loan. You have this Louisiana business that does business with Louisiana people, and you need a little business capital. You need a little bit of a runway to help bring in some inventory. Maybe you need to hire some new people. Well, make sure that the people making the decision on that loan isn't from out of state. They're not from New York City. They are right here in Louisiana making those decisions. First American Bank and Trust. Go check them out at FABT.com.
Shake your money maker like somebody about to pay you.
Off the bench with Hester and Flynn. Presented by Bayou Automotive.
If you wanna come get it, stand next to this money like, hey, hey, hey. Shake your money maker like somebody about to pay you. Don't worry about the
All right, welcome back here. Off the bench. We are not closing out the show. We're closing out hour number 2.
You always get ahead of yourself on that.
I do. Well, obviously, I didn't mean to say it. You ever have those days where.
Wait, you didn't mean to say that?
I didn't mean to say
I
that.
thought you
which
rehearsed
is shocking.
it in your head, and
It seemed polished.
Usually, everything I say is like comes out perfectly
Yeah.
clear, perfectly normal. I don't see squirrels at all.
you're super well spoken.
Super well spoken. Well, we got the tripod rolling with you this morning. Jacob Hester gave us that.
Threes up.
What?
I don't know. Threes up. The tripod gets threes up.
Three's up. Okay,
I like
yeah,
it.
why not?
To hell with it. I
To
like
hell with it. Why not?
it. Let's roll.
Why the hell not?
Why are we acting like I'm weird for saying that?
Alondra, what? So strange.
Three's up. Go see him.
Closing out the hour next.
Uh-huh. Jake's in Atlanta. What a loser.
Lame.
So lame.
He took a picture of like the Atlanta wall.
Yeah.
You know what I didn't see? Any of their Super Bowl trophies.
That's the weirdest
They must be hidden.
They keep them in a different spot.
Because they got some, right?
Yep.
Like they've won one.
Yeah, he's in Atlanta today, and then I think in Tampa Bay tomorrow. Checking in on Tay-Tay's, I don't know, your fling, your 2025 fling.
His affair.
His affair.
Yeah.
That's right.
My baby mama.
Hey, a lot of people are starting to get on the Dallas Cowboy train for this year. A lot of the national people are starting to pick them as their darling.
I don't love that.
You just want them to be bad.
So you can
I
be
think
mad.
I actually think
He
they,
wants to be upset.
I think
He
they got
wants
a
to be
shot of being
upset.
good. I just don't want anybody to hype them up.
All right, when we come back, start hour 3, we're going to have weekend winners and losers. So stick with us right here on Off the Bench.
Off the bench.
All right, it is that time. It is that time to tell you to go to Tommy's Windows, Doors, and Siding. Go Tommy's.com.
Go, Tommy.
Yeah, both of y'all. Let's go.
I forgot. That's on me. She had it. That's on me. I forgot.
I actually was kind of hoping y'all both did.
Tommy.
Go to GoTommys.com. Go Tommys.com. Windows, doors, sidings. If you have a project happening, whether it's a brand new project, if you're building a new house, maybe you are doing a little renovation like we're doing over at the Flint House. Or maybe you just live in South Louisiana and you got some rotted windows, rotted doors because, well, hell, it's humid here. There's termites. There's a little weather here. You need to replace it. Well, you get Tommy and his team to do it. It's going to be a lifetime warranty on anything that they install over there with Tommy's team. If you have a project happening, make sure we get it. You're going to try to find the best price, best availability. Do yourself a favor. See why Tommy's wins award after award every single year since 2016. Voted the best in the business. Go to GoTommys.com.